Hi guys, this video might seem weird. Why am I doing it outside? Well, I live in Florida and it's usually super hot here. It actually feels great outside, and due to the fact that I've been up all night stressing over the election here in the US, I'm sure a lot of people can sort of feel that way. I wanted to relax it a little bit and be in a more comfortable environment while I can before it gets hot again. I mean, it's so rare that we have these events. I mean, look at my bonsai tree. It's never that cold. Last week, I talked about a headset that seemed to have piqued a lot of people's interest. I want to remind people right away before watching this video and getting excited, I am not endorsing this product, and I don't think anyone should even enter their credit card information at this time until reviewers actually get it in their hands and we don't just see it in videos and interviews and stuff like that. Speaking of interviews, Mixed Reality TV, another VR YouTuber, did a great job interviewing the team for almost 3 hours. He cut it down to 2 hours, and I'm going to link that video below if you're interested for some really long, in-depth information on the headset based on what the creators did with it. But for now, I'm going to sort of give more updates of what we know from a bunch of information coming out from the company and a bunch of interviews coming out with the company themselves. And I'm going to talk about them here. So a lot of people already know it has very comparable specs display-wise to the HP Reverb, which comes in almost $100 more. 2160 by 2160 per display, which means that it actually does use two displays, unlike the Oculus Quest or Rift S. And that means that allows people to adjust their IPD with a mechanism rather than having one giant display to cut down costs usually and digitally change the IPD, which usually gives more limits to what you can do in that regard. When asked if it was the same exact panel that the HP Reverb is using, Decagear company basically said they can't say right now. So even though it may be the same specs, it might not be from the same manufacturer and the quality may be different. We don't know. Now, of course, the refresh rate is still 90 Hz max. That's pretty much in line with a lot of PC VR headsets in general, so that's not too much of a surprise. New information about the actual headset, though, is the field of view, which is basically how much of the world you can see when the headset is on your eyes itself. The interesting point to be made is there's no comfort slider on the device, so you cannot actually move the displays forward or backward toward or away your face, which means that this FOV that they have set here is actually the standard FOV that every person will get unless they do some weird mods to it. That FOV is 114 degrees, which is about in line with the Oculus Rift S and the HTC Vive. So a pretty good amount, but obviously nowhere near as something like the Valve Index, for example, which is to be expected at the price point that they're trying to offer. They also claim that the lens they're using are not actually off the shelf and that they've created their own lens. My opinion, maybe wait for that. Lens of a VR headset are a very important aspect of VR in general, and a lot of people complain about Fresnel lenses despite the fact that most VR headsets use it. And it wouldn't surprise me that even if Decagear themselves have edited a lot of the lenses that we've seen on other competitors, I imagine it's not going to be too different or special in the actual product release. People don't like Fresnel lenses because of God rays, but for the general public, most lenses that we have right now for a price point at this point for a PC VR headset would probably be in line with what you would expect. There's not much things new when it comes to facial tracking. I said in my last video, it has two cameras, one to track the top of your face and one on the bottom. Infrared, AI support to help software sort of figure out where all the muscles are and correlate that into social VR platforms that a developer will implement in their programs if they choose to. They state that most work is done with the actual rigging of the models themselves for games. So if you are a big VR chat fan, which I feel a lot of people are watching this headset's development is, then that's not a big surprise to you. If you're already going full on with the full motion of VR chat, it's probably no surprise to you. You gotta actually rig all the facial features for a avatar or model for a game like that anyway. They state pupil movement works, so it can track your pupils in some way. However, they have no plans for foveated rendering, which if you do not know what foveated rendering is, and I can't even say it apparently, hard word to say, it's basically a very experimental and not done in many headsets except for like the HTC Vive Pro I, they call it that for a reason, where the headset is able to track where you're looking, and most of the rendering is done only where your eye is looking. This theoretically allows video games or content in general to be rendered at a higher fidelity of what you're seeing instead of rendering the whole FOV itself, which again would make VR rendering for not just PC platforms, but all platforms a lot more easier to run. They still state that all pictures that are pretty much captured while tracking your face will not be stored. However, this does not really say anything else about the outer tracked headsets, and I hope we can get some more information on that. The reason I care about that all of a sudden is because a new Stanford research basically made this entire study done where, based on the movements of a player, an AI was able to basically guess what player that was, kind of match them to a digital name based on the movements they did in VR. So for example, think of my job simulator videos. A person plays that game very differently than another VR person. Well, Stanford believes that AI itself can actually figure out from all their movements and height and everything in general, what that person or who that person is from that. So that's a kind of scary thing that I wanted to bring up. Maybe we'll make a whole video about that when I do a deep dive into that study itself. For camera inside-out tracking, again, I said this before, it's all done in the headset itself. So they have a interesting chip that they built themselves in the headset, apparently. First of all, let me say this is not an XR2 chip that is in the headset. It's a completely in-house chip that they claim is in the headset. And there's two modes. One activates the actual display port output and USB output that you would expect from a PC VR headset. And all that data that is tracked from the headset is then sent to the inputs in your PC. However, if you plug in the battery attachment or anything related to that, they have a separate chip that may be Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 6E, depending on whatever. I'm guessing it'll be Wi-Fi 6 though. Will allow it to sort of work in like a virtual desktop mode, similar to how a lot of people use their Oculus Quest or Quest 2, only for PC VR using a virtual desktop. But this would be probably a bit more designed for that rather than a sort of updated feature that we see on a lot of the standalone headsets. So a cool thing, and it makes a lot of sense how maybe due to the fact that they're not using a full XR2 Snapdragon platform, while they're able to bring down a lot of the cost, because I imagine the XR2 platform itself is pretty expensive to implement, especially if you're not planning to do a standalone full headset. Just a reminder, standalone VR headset is a completely, well, as the name suggests, standalone VR experience, has a complete mobile GPU, CPU and everything, so you do not have to plug anything into a computer to play VR, like the Oculus Quest and Oculus Quest 2 and HTC Vive Focus, and that just snapped off, oh god. Of course, with many of these inside-out tracking, they even admit themselves there's an occlusion problem. So let's say you're holding a gun with two controllers in VR. If one controller near your face is blocking the other controller, then sort of the algorithm to guess where the other controller is pretty wonky at this time, apparently. This can be updated anytime through software updates or just general use of the device as time goes on. But for now, it's shaky, but this is just generally a standard thing with inside-out headsets to begin with. Again, this is a social VR headset, and I mentioned VR chat with full body tracking. The actual device itself cannot actually full body track you. It can't look at your body with the cameras outside the headset and track your limbs or anything. And neither can the actual tracking point on your hip, because that is technically a 3DOF device itself and only points the direction with a gyrometer of where it's pointing. So you cannot actually track your full body in social VR platforms with this headset. But due to the fact that it's compatible with SteamVR, if you buy HTC Vive trackers, apparently you can actually do full body with the headset itself. You just gotta have the HTC Vive trackers, which are really the only ones right now, since Valve has not released their own version of that. Which sucks, because Valve takes smaller margins than HTC. Alright, controllers, pressure sensitive like the Valve Index. Apparently they showed a very thin strip that goes into the controller that is able to track the fingers. Again, still not sure about the quality of that. We don't see that many. They didn't show anything about that, a live demo that shows how good that is. I still am very suspicious that it's probably not nearly as good as Valve Index, which it probably shouldn't be because Valve Index is so expensive. But it does track individual fingers in some way, whether that's off and on. We'll see, again, wait for reviews or test prototypes or whatever. How long will you have to wait till someone gets their hands on it that isn't the company? Well, they're stating January is when they plan to get out to YouTubers and bloggers to sort of test them out and give their audiences an opinion on that. I really hope I can get one. I mean, we all know how much I love PC VR hardware to begin with. People complain that I am apparently not fair to this device, despite I use it quite a lot, because it's not PCVR. But yeah, I want to try it. I want to give people my honest opinion. So, Decagear, if you're watching. The device does have 2 microphones built under the device. Again, social VR, they want to have good voice quality. We don't know how good that voice quality will be. Again, that's really anyone's guess at this point, but it does have 2 microphones, which could theoretically be good for noise cancellation at the very least. Headphone jack, USB-C, or Bluetooth low energy, just for connecting to the PC, as I said earlier. They even stated that the actual facial padding, which we don't know how comfortable it is, hopefully it's nothing near like the facial padding that comes with most of the Oculus products, PCVR or non-PCVR, but it actually does magnetically attach to the headset, very similar to the Valve Index. If you ever use the Valve Index face padding, you can just take it off very easily because it's just magnets. In fact, they kind of come off too easy sometimes, I gotta say, but yeah, that's a nice quality of life thing. Reiterate, this is a SteamVR only headset, not really Windows mixed reality license or anything like that. So you will not be able to use it with the Windows mixed reality programs. I don't know why you would want to, but yeah, full SteamVR headset. And that's what I stated last video, that Valve has helped them get to that point in some way. Look at this. You see that lighting above my head? Is that a sign from God? Is he trying to tell me something? What does it mean? What? You're ruining my video. We have a little bit of new tidbit information about the Deca Move. Again, that little device you're supposed to strap onto your hip, and based on where you're pointing, it will actually direct your movement as long as the games basically support it. It's a 3DOF device. I said all this earlier. They also stated that if drifting happens, which apparently I guess this does happen sometimes, you can actually reset the device to recalibrate it with the press of a button. The really interesting tidbit I think a lot of people should pay attention to about this device is they actually plan to sell it separately without the device and use it on platforms like Oculus Quest or other VR platforms. So that's pretty cool if it works out that way. If you want to have more natural artificial locomotion movement in a not a standalone VR thing, as long as the developer implements support for it, might happen if it's real. So most of this video is just a bunch of cool aspects that the developers have told us about this headset, but the rest is going to be coming down to more of a reality sort of thing. So first of all, I want to point out that May 2021 is what they want dearly to be the release date. However, they are saying it's going to be incredibly close, and they are really not sure if they'll make it. They hope so. I'm guessing they won't make it, but that's just a pessimist in me. They're a small company, and manufacturing a headset rather than just creating a prototype is a totally different ballgame. They said the May 2021 day is more of a signal for suppliers and the team itself to just kind of really push them hard in these next months leading up to that date to really get it out there. So if it's not May 2021, maybe a few months after that, the latest. I mean, they're trying their best, it sounds like. However, they say if they do miss their mark, they don't plan to cut back on any of the innovations they have announced thus far. So the product they actually announced themselves, right now, it's not supposed to change. But we don't really know the truth about the product anyway until people get their hands on it that aren't them anyway. They say that if you pay the $10, which again, I don't recommend doing right now, you will get the guaranteed $449 price for the headset completely. But they also basically said that they don't really plan to change that price after. They want that price to be the full price for the entire lifetime of the product. So that should make you feel better, not feeling rushed to put money toward a product we don't really know except what they tell us. They said the minimum they have for sort of the funding is they can build 5,000 units apparently with the current funding they have, and they can sell those units at the price. They hope to actually get up to 20,000 to 50,000 units for the first production, but they need investors, and that I don't really like the concept of that, but that's where we are right now. They've been currently self-funded. They've had a lot of history. The CEO, for example, in adware back in the early 2000s, which he basically defends that adware has been really hated on now, but back then it was a normal thing. I do feel like that is true. Every website in their yin yang would install adware on your toolbars and your desktops and everything. and he is out of it now. However, that does make me kind of concerned that his claims, or the company's claims that the true privacy of the headset is a little, I don't know. I don't want to say anything yet, but I'm adware history. I don't know. As I said, January, content creators will get the device, and after content creators basically give their blessing or hatred for the device, they will launch, oh, here we go again, a Kickstarter right after that. So late January or February, we'll see a Kickstarter campaign, and the incentive is you'll get basically the first batch of this product if you help fund the Kickstarter. I really hate Kickstarter, guys. Kickstarter, too many things have not gone well on there. My biggest fears right now, and the rest of the video are basically my fears that might actually come true or might not, depending on how you look at it. Thank you, Bird. They want to get a lot of funding from investors. This is my biggest worry. There's been a lot of companies that would come out in technology to try to not scam the actual consumer base, but scam investor base instead. You get a lot more money out that way. So when they come out and say they want to get investing and funding from these investors, $30 to $40 million, and launch a Kickstarter, my brain starts to flare up a little bit. I gotta be honest with you. Let's do some slumping for a little bit, since that lighting is literally just ruining my video. Between the Kickstarter and the hopeful investing, I start to get my hopes down a lot. Despite the fact that the interview and all the information we're getting from them does seem legit and maybe possible. They even plan to show off the prices for all the components, or at least the most expensive components, to prove why this headset can exist for the price it does. I don't know. It's like I said, I don't want people to give their credit card information right now. Just wait. But if it's real, again, this could be amazing for PCVR. I would love to see this be real. Again, I said this in my last video tons of times, but this would be great. It's not a standalone headset, but PCVR and standalone can exist in different realms. Not one is going to kill the other. It's going to both exist completely, in my opinion, because they just totally give different experiences. And for the PCVR market, we don't have much right now. Oculus just left. They left it. Sure, they have the Oculus Link, and you can use the Oculus Quest 2 as a virtual desktop, but there's still a lot missing when it comes to a low, affordable PCVR-focused headset. And if this is real, maybe this will sort of bridge the gap a little bit, because currently we have the super enthusiast headset like the Valve Index, and we have an enthusiast headset coming out like within the next couple of weeks, the HP Reverb, and then we have this, which is got really cool things and ideas with it, if it's real. But it's a Kickstarter, and they're begging for investors to invest. Yeah. Oh yeah, HTC exists too, right? No, we're not in China. But that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm sorry this video was relaxed. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I hope you found this video very informative, and I was able to answer maybe some questions you had about the device and anything. If you like this video, please like it. If you really enjoyed this kind of content, please subscribe. That's it. Have a great day. Stay safe, and please just relax and enjoy the life we have.